All right. Hey, everybody. We have the esteemed law professor, Joe Patuto, here. Thank you so much, Professor Patuto, for partaking in this.
Well, thank you, Judy. I always love being on your show. You do such a great job. Uh,
Yeah. How are things going with your channel?
I think okay. We have 13,000 subscribers, and I'm told that's really fast for a new show. And I'm watching a number of trials. I'm watching the Canaro trial in New Jersey right now, which I don't know if you followed it, Judy, but it has
No.
awful facts. A brother is alleged to have killed his brother, his sister-in-law, and an 8 and 11-year-old, and then burned the house down to try to cover up the crime. And it's all because of he was allegedly fooling around with finances in the company that they were in together, and to cover up that, he killed the entire family. It's just
Oh,
an awful story.
oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
on right now if anybody's interested. We're doing it every day in a stream. Yeah.
Well, I've been following that Banfield trial.
Yeah.
So it seems like a lot of stuff is going on right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But the Banfield trial is supposed to last about 4 weeks
Is
total.
it?
Yeah. What about the trial you're covering?
Yeah, they're saying that long, and my own view is watching the defense lawyer, we may be there all and through the summer because it's a great this trial is she's doing a good job defending her client, but the way she's doing it, it would be a great lesson for a trial ad class. An objection is sustained, and she goes ahead and asks the question again. Then she'll try to ask it another way. She's been called to the judge's bench about 4 times now. So that's been really interesting. And the trial had something really interesting. The fire chief had never testified before, so he went on AI and asked ChatGPT to give him some questions that a defense lawyer might ask. And that ended up in discovery to the defense lawyer. And
Oh,
she kept insisting that that was the fire chief's testimony. And he kept saying it's AI questions. So it was quite a comic interlude. But,
oh, okay. Well, that sounds
yeah,
interesting. But in
can't do
between
more than
work,
one. Right.
yeah, I mean, I've been totally overwhelmed with work and stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry I haven't had time to watch your
Oh,
channel
no,
as
no, no, no.
much.
But you're watching the other channel. She's really changed her look, hasn't she? The au
Oh,
pair.
the nanny?
Yeah.
Well, I think as Kathy has said, it's the prison gloat down. So, just like Donna Adelson, she gained a lot of weight in jail. So it's not surprising that the killer nanny doesn't look as hot
Oh, so you
anymore.
didn't think it was tactical to make her look less like the seductress who was leading the charge on the murder and more like the sort of innocent little person who got
Well,
pulled
it
in.
could have been, but I think pretty much everyone who's in jail just does the gloat
That's true.
down.
That's true.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is true.
like who is that woman with the kind of like a what did they call it? Like a some sort of like dog like ponytail thing? Oh, Monica Sementelli. Yeah, yeah. What was it? A Shih Tzu hairstyle. Yeah, where she had this ponytail on top
On
of
top
her
of her
head.
head.
Yeah, so she looked really good before she went to jail, but then she must
Uh-huh.
have gained about 40 pounds in jail, no makeup, and
Uh-huh.
she looked horrible at
Uh-huh.
trial. Yeah.
Too bad.
So
Well,
yeah, but anyway, welcome to the Dapple verse. So let me see. Do you even understand what the Dapple verse is?
no, but it's well, I here's what I think. You correct me. He had some sort of event and people could come live or watch on pay-per-view and he did comedy?
No,
No?
no.
What was it then? I'm really
Okay,
lost.
so the person who is in the middle of this, the plaintiff, John Melendez, he's a comedian and a celebrity who was he was a phone screener for Howard Stern, and then he was an announcer for the Leno show. So that's his big claim to fame. He's also, I think he's been on two record albums, and he's been in a bunch of movies.
Uh-huh.
And he's also, I think he was like a guest star on Wings.
Oh,
So
really?
have you
I
heard
watch
of,
Wings.
huh? You
I
used to
said I
watch
watch
that?
Wings.
Oh, okay. So have you heard of him,
No, I
John?
know I never have, but I never watched Howard Stern, so yeah,
Yeah, same here.
yeah.
So, okay.
Never heard of him.
Okay. So he's 60 years old now, and his channel is called Stuttering John Podcast. And it's become this huge industry of other YouTubers who follow him. And they're all, glued to their screens watching John's show and clipping it and doing commentary. And mostly they make fun of him. So it's like a bunch of people who have made lots of money by giving commentary and making fun of this person.
So it's not just these two guys that he sued. There are
That's
more
right,
out
there
there
are
doing the
more.
same thing. Ah,
Yeah, except he sued these two defendants, Carl and Shuley, because they put together a couple of events called DabbleCon. And it's called DabbleCon because there was another comedian, a woman, I think her name is Chrissy Mayers or something. She did an interview with Sean where she just kind of off the cuff said, "Oh, and so you've dabbled in comedy." And so he was very offended by that, saying like, "Hey, I'm a real comedian. This is my profession and stuff." So it just kind of stuck where people started calling this group of, viewers the Dabbleverse, and that they are dabblers, making fun of him being called a dabbler in comedy by this person. So thus the term DabbleCon. I hope I got that right
okay,
because
but they have had two events, haven't they?
yes.
Okay,
So
so they're not.
Shuley,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
so Shuley and Carl, the defendants, as far as I know, they organized these two events and charged people money. One was, I guess, pay-per-view, and one was an in-person type
Yeah.
of convention, like a 2-day event that, from what I've heard, it included other things like stand-up comedy and commentary, just like fun activities. But I'm not sure because I haven't seen full, video of this thing. So,
Okay, well, I'm glad
yeah.
that, I mean, I did read a lot, but I had no idea that this was a kind of a cottage industry out there of making fun of his channel and pulling things. And then it's interesting. You wonder how that would start. There are all these channels out there. What would have prompted other channels to think, okay, we'll go after his content and put it on ours and make fun of it? It's
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think people just stumbled onto it because I think Carl had some sort of regular white collar job doing marketing. And so you guys correct me, but I think Carl just wanted to have fun on YouTube. So he started doing a show and it took off where he saw that people actually liked this content, where he would make fun of John's show. And then, from what I recall, Shuley also worked for the Howard Stern show. So there's a lot of people who used to work for the show that then branched off and tried to do their own podcasts.
I see.
And so then Shuley started his YouTube channel and started making fun of John with his comedian friends. And thousands of people tune in constantly to watch this stuff. There
Oh,
are more
wow.
people too, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, so they're the ones who got sued because they were the organizers.
So before we go into, some of the law here, but there were allegations that on two separate occasions, this Katie Meany or Kate Meany, who was a friend of Stuttering John and must have some relationship to the defendants, uh, surreptitiously taped phone calls with Stuttering John. And then, you correct me if I'm wrong, and then those phone calls were used as part of these shows.
Yes, one of them, I think it was the in-person conference, DabbleCon 2, where they allegedly advertised it as saying, hey, you're going to hear these exclusive recordings of John. And I did want to get your opinion on that because Kate Meany, her father was a pretty famous comedian, Kevin Meany. Have you ever heard of him?
No, none of these names are familiar.
Okay, I had heard of him. Yeah. So Kate Meany was much, or she is much younger than John. She was probably around 24 at the time. And I guess he tried to act like he was going to mentor her or give her advice on her comedy career, but he was also kind of putting the moves on her and being sort of inappropriate. This is what I gather. I haven't heard the actual recordings.
Yeah.
Well, I think I heard a little part of it. But so the plaintiff makes a big deal out of this being illegal because John lived in California back then and she was in New York. But I was thinking, so is it illegal because it was okay under New York law, but it's illegal under California law?
Yeah, that's going to be, it will be a, I think it will, I don't know if there may well be law out there with regard to a conversation when one person is one state and one in another.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Google. So I Googled it. So thank you to this law firm.
Some states, California being one of them, do not have, it's illegal under state law for me to have a conversation over the phone with you, or an in-person one for that matter, and I tape it and you don't know. The federal constitution and a lot of other states say, doesn't matter, that you do not have to know, the third party doesn't have to, the other party doesn't have to know that he or she's being taped. So, and the issue here is the one that you're going to come up with is which state are they in? Because New York says it's okay, not illegal, and California evidently says it is illegal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thanks to this one law firm website, of course, none of this is real legal advice because this ain't my specialty. And, you get what you pay for. But thanks to this law firm website, it says that even if one of the people is not in California, the rule still applies regardless of where the other person is located.
Yeah, that this is conflict of laws, which I taught.
Oh, okay. Tell us more.
Yeah. You can say that that's true if you're in California. But if you're in New York, the question is New York going to give credence to California's way of looking at it when one of the parties to the conversation apparently is resident in New York, or at least the conversation was in New York? They have to decide whose law, because they both have a stake in it. And this one sounds as though, I don't know whose law they're talking about here, where it is still illegal in California. That I'll agree, because California says you got to have both people know. But whether that means that New York has to honor it, and that depends on whether New York even says California law applies. This stuff is not simple. I mean, it can get really complicated. So
yeah. So of course you can see in the complaint or the brief that the plaintiff mentions, look, this is illegal, and we complained to the FBI and the police.
Right.
Yeah, but it sounds like they didn't do anything about it. So my question to you is, why do you think there was no prosecution of Kate for this illegal recording based on California law?
Well, the FBI, I don't think, would do anything about it because under the federal constitution, it's legal, it's constitutional. So the question would be why the police in California didn't go after it. And I don't know, maybe they got counsel that says this is a murky area where it's not clear because he's not here. The other party of the conversation, she was not there. And they thought, it would be too difficult to go after her. And if it's not I don't know what level crime it would be in California, whether you can extradite. I mean, you got to get the person there to have a prosecution. And it sounded as though, now you can correct me again, that she's not in California.
That's
She's
right.
in New York. So they'd have to, I mean, I don't know the extent to which they're going to say on something like this, even if the law is really clear, that they are going to go after and extradite somebody back to California on this felony. I don't know what level felony it is. So that could be it. They might have just thought it was you get a lot of calls, and they get a lot of calls and they don't go after all of them because they don't have enough time. But I noticed in the brief, I will say that, and I was amused by the brief, because they keep calling it an illegal conversation, a secret conversation, over and over and over again. And they only make one little effort to explain why it's illegal. And then they don't go into any of the complications, but then you get this refrain. It was almost like a drum beat. Every time they had a chance, they mentioned it again. So,
Okay. Yeah, because it does sound like, of course, his feelings were very badly hurt
yeah.
to find out that this young woman was actually recording him a couple of times.
Well, and I thought the brief said there was something in the briefs that he found out that she had done it, and then he talked to her again, and she recorded it again. So, I mean, after you've been burned once, why would you go ahead and engage in conversations with her again? And then there was something in the brief about he went on the air or on his podcast that said it was okay. You remember seeing that? I mean, it was
Yeah,
just,
I do recall hearing that perhaps later he said something like he knew she was recording him.
yeah.
So if you're a prosecutor, of course, you would be like, maybe we don't want to move forward.
Well, if
with
you
this."
knew it, then there's no, even if your California applies, there's no violation of California law. I mean, the issue is that both parties have to know. And if he's going to go on his podcast and say, I knew, he can say, well, I didn't really mean I know, but that's, that's pretty, you're right. That's a tough road for a prosecutor at that point.
Yes. And would you like to tell the audience about your experience since people don't know who you are?
Oh, yeah. I was a law professor. I had a chair in constitutional law at the University of Nebraska College of Law, and I've taught at other law schools, including Chapel Hill and Oregon, Arizona. I actually taught 2 summers, I think, at Cambridge in a program for American law students on law, but with an international or a multi-nation flair. I taught law and literature and famous trials, and it was a lot of fun doing that. And I've prosecuted for a while. I took a sabbatical to prosecute. I've written jury instructions. I think that's enough. That's enough.
Oh, I'm sure there's more. You've won awards. You've been teaching since 1974. Is that
70,
right?
yeah. This is 4, 7, somewhere in there. Yeah, I left law school and went into teaching. Yeah.
And you were the main editor in chief of your law review, which is very hard.
And I was the principal drafter on the Uniform Law Commissioners Sentencing and Corrections Act.
Wow.
And I did the racetrack rules for Nebraska. I've got a multi-volume federal criminal jury instructions. So, yeah.
And you're an expert on sports law.
Yeah, well, I was what's called the faculty athletic representative at Nebraska. NCAA schools required that a tenured faculty member have some responsibility for athletics. And at the time I did it, the faculty rep was really the eyes of the president or chancellor. It sounds as though the faculty rep is representing the faculty, but that's not the case. You're a member of the faculty representing the institution. So it's how the president would think about it. It includes alums and it includes donors and faculty and students. And I had oversight at the campus of compliance and academic issues. And my brief from the chancellor was anything else that caught my eye that concerned me. I had the authority to go look at it. And so then I chaired the NCAA Committee on Infractions, which heard cases of institutional violations of NCAA rules. I actually sat on the case that decided that Reggie Bush had been involved in infractions, and that led the football, what is it, the National Football Foundation, I'm trying to remember, that awards the Heisman, to take back the Heisman. It was
Oh,
based on what our committee did. So, yeah.
oh, wow. Okay. So a lot of accolades. I'm sure there are more. So, um, okay. Well, let's address the super chats. Thank you for your super chat, Florida fan. Is it possible to sue a potato?
You're
Well,
spelling my name wrong.
no, no. It's because one of the channels
Oh,
that makes fun of Stuttering John
oh,
and clips his show, what is this person's name? I don't even know his real name. Is that Cardiff? It's a comedian. But instead of showing his face on his YouTube channel, he has this fake potato with animated
oh, is
eyes
it
and
the
a
Mr.
mouth.
Potato Head?
No,
Oh,
no,
not
it's a
even that.
generic potato. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, you could probably sue the person if you could figure out what his real name is, but you can't just sue a potato in general. Yeah. Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
you could have couldn't you do an alias defendant and then have to go find your
Sure,
defendant?
John
Yeah, yeah,
Doe,
yeah, right, right,
aka the potato Cardiff.
right.
Yeah. Okay, you followed me unless I'm driving. I would like to confront the stereotype that I am an excellent, very careful driver. And the last time I got hit, it was actually an older white male who hit me because he wasn't paying attention. So stop with
Is
the
there a
stereotypes.
stereotype out there about you as a driver?
No, I mean, there's just some people, including Vince, that like to make jokes once in a while about Asians being bad drivers.
Where
But
would they get that information?
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, what a stupid stereotype. That
well, I
needs
don't
to
think it
die.
is. I've never heard
Yeah,
it.
good, because that
No,
needs to die out because I'm a very careful
there you
driver.
go.
Yeah. So, but thanks for the $1.99.
That's right.
However,
Take the
will I
money
spend
with
it?
the insult, right?
Yeah, thanks. You've really classed up the Dappleverse, Miss Judy. Big fan. Well, thank you. And now we have this real law professor who spent a lot of time reading up on this, although she still doesn't really know who John Melendez is.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not up with, well, this isn't even recent culture. I mean, he would have, how long has Howard Stern been off the air?
Yeah, it's been like
Would have
20.
been, and so
Well,
Jay Leno's been off the air for quite a while. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So it's been quite a while.
yeah.
Um, glad glad to see you're into Dappleverse. Could I draw you? Sure, as long as it's not too offensive, right? Okay, thank you. Carl had Who Are These Podcasts? He did a segment on John, and John went nuts. That
Ah.
started the whole thing. Well, in a way, if you're a celebrity, don't you kind of welcome any sort of attention?
Don't they say that all publicity is good publicity, even bad
Yeah.
publicity is good publicity? Yeah, and that's one of the issues here. He's clearly a public figure, so he doesn't have the same claim to privacy that
Mhm.
someone else would have. And he's got a channel. He's been on a radio show. He's been on TV. He's a comedian. It would be interesting to see whether he was a kind of a really sort of sweet joke comedian or was a little sarcastic or ironic. And I'm sure, hey, listen, I am sure it is hurtful to have somebody, particularly somebody you work with, you know, go on and on and on, demeaning you and ridiculing you, which is what the claim was. But you've got to have, I think, if you're in this world, you have to have a pretty thick skin about it because it's going to happen. I
Mhm.
like the idea. One of the other things in this complaint was they went to his house and got an old pillow out of his garbage and
Oh,
they
the
used it
sofa
in the show.
cushions.
So why, in that one, I thought to myself, why would I worry about that they got my sofa cushion?
Well, it was in the trash anyway,
That's
which
right.
was out on the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the plaintiff's attorney wanted to use that to emphasize how mean they are. That these people would go to such great lengths to send someone to his house and look through his trash and take something
Hmm.
because they're making fun of him so badly.
Uh-huh. Do we
Yeah.
know, does anybody in the chat know what exactly they've said about him? I mean, I was willing for this program to read these briefs, but I didn't have enough incentive to go try to find the old, podcasts or whatever they were and see if I could hear what it was that they were saying about him.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's not publicly available. If
Oh,
if you're talking about the DabbleCon stuff,
yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
So that's why I can't give any sort of definitive opinion because first of all, this isn't my specialty. I don't practice in New York and I didn't see video footage of this stuff.
yeah.
So we're just giving general impressions.
Right. You can't because you don't know. But the law generally, I mean, he's a public figure, so he's got a much higher standard before he can make a claim of defamation, which is the claim he seems to be making here. And then the question is, when they took his information or material from his channel and used it, was it simply commercial? Was it transformative? Was it satire, among other things? So strictly commercial. It's always easy to see the poles. It's the middle that you then have to exercise some judgment. But if I took a picture of Peyton Manning, put it on a t-shirt and sold the t-shirts, that's commercial. You're not making any argument that there's artistic content there, news value, satire. It's just me making money off his name and image. On the other hand, if I take Peyton Manning and I use him as a character in a book that I'm writing, or I'm doing an artistic piece of players of football over the years, that then, even though I might sell that painting, is over on the other side. It's, even though there's a commercial aspect to it, it's not commercial in the sense that just selling the t-shirt is. And so what the courts look at is, is the commercial element, is the use of the name, image, likeness incidental, or is it a major part? Is there value added in that when these guys did their shows based on Stuttering John's material, did they add content to it? Did they make it different? Is it artistic in what they did to add to it? Or did they just simply take his and play it with nothing more? Now, I don't know because we haven't heard it, but it certainly seems that they had to have done more than just take his stuff and replay it, because he says they're making fun of him. So they've got to be doing something that is comedic content, which comes under artistic. I mean, we
Yeah,
may not
parody.
like the artistic, but it comes in over there. We don't know where this is in terms of what they did.
Well, also, I did want to ask you, does it matter that this wasn't a performance of John's, but rather it was a private phone call between him and Kate gave permission to the defendants to play it?
Yeah.
Versus, as opposed to, let's watch John's stand-up comedy and charge people.
Well, the plaintiffs make the case that this is private, so it comes out of any ability, any news value, or anything else. That again is not necessarily true. If I'm a journalist and I talk to you in a private conversation and you tell me the governor of North Carolina was engaged in embezzlement, and I then print it, there's a public interest there that's going to override the fact that it's a private conversation. So the fact that it's private, not public, enters the mix of what you consider, but it doesn't make it one or the other. And you're right. You've got one party to it who says, hey, it's my conversation too, and I'm giving you my conversation. So if we had heard what they actually did, you and I, Judy, would have a better idea of saying whether it's one or the other. But how does it sound to you? It sounds to me as though they've got the private conversation and they use it as a launching point to talk about him and do a whole, routine. and they go back to what he said, as a launching point for other parts of the routine. But it doesn't sound as though they just took what that phone call was, dropped it in their content, and then, said, hey, look how stupid this is. And they didn't do more with it.
Yeah, like, let me play it for you. You give me $40 or
Right, right,
something.
right.
That's what I'm
Right.
not 100% clear about.
Right,
So,
which would be more like the T-shirt with Peyton Manning's name on it. Then you're not doing anything other than selling you have a right to make money off your name or your image, and I don't have a right to steal it and and use it without me paying you a royalty or something. Yeah.
Okay, let me address. We have a bunch of super chats, so thank you. John's son changed his name to Oscar Turner. So that's what I've heard, that I guess John is estranged from his children.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
Oh, well, I'm not sure, what commentary I can add to that.
You never know the reason, but it's always sad to me when families have issues.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Rage. John did report the calls to the FBI and police, but they didn't pursue. The legality of these calls is not relevant to this lawsuit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it still gives context, and Judy's right. The context matters in a lawsuit because it frames, if you're trying to decide whose story, when there's a conflict in stories, whose stories do I believe? The background like that gives context that would easily lead a fact finder to lean one way rather than the other. So even though it may not be strictly legal, it still has, I think, an impact.
Okay. He contacted her, that's Kate, again, after he called her a prostitute and drug addict. He then called her mom and made those allegations. Oh.
Jeez. I can't imagine why he thinks this lawsuit, unless he thinks he's going to get a lot of money out of them, and I don't see how I don't know what juries would do with damages, how he thinks this is going to be good for his career or for his reputation or anything, because other information like that is going to come out, and it doesn't seem to me to be helpful to him.
Yeah, because he still has to prove damages. Yeah. So that opens himself up to an exploration of his finances and his income. And who knows, maybe this whole industry of people making fun of him, it actually could be making him more money.
I bet it did. If I had to guess, because it made him more, it publicized his name more, and it, and probably drove people back to watch his original stuff. Yeah, but you're right. At least it's going to have to be proved.
Yeah. I'm glad Miss Judy was too bright to fall for Stuttering John's BS. Too many. Well, I mean, that's kind of harsh. I mean, he's had me on his show a few times and stuff, and I try to be nice to people and give them a benefit of the doubt and stuff.
And you do. So, you're great at it.
Yeah.
So you know him then?
Well, vaguely, just because Vince put me in touch with him. And so, yeah, I think I've been on just a few times. It has been quite embarrassing at times. So, yeah, but it's all for fun. This is entertainment, right? So we're giving people entertainment.
And that's probably another thing that will have an impact if this ever gets to trial. To the extent that his show is all for fun and it makes fun of things, whatever they're doing, it's not like I'm the straight-laced minister at a church and you're doing it, where my life is over here and you're really doing something dramatically different with my reputation. Here, he's in this world already, and to show what it is they're doing different that's really damaged him is, I think, going to be harder for him.
Okay, because it's all part of this comedy.
His shtick.
Yeah, Dabbleverse. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Manley. Why would counsel call something illegally recorded when no court has ruled it illegal? Is that proper advocacy or potentially misleading?
Me?
Yes. I mean, the court doesn't have to rule it being illegal for his attorney to say that.
Right. As long as they have some basis in the facts to make the claim. And here they're saying he didn't know. And under California law, he had to know. So I don't think it's outside, the realm of what you're entitled to say to call it illegal. It may turn out that if it's ever litigated, the court will say no because she was in New York or for other reasons. But I think he's got a basis in fact for saying it.
Okay. Hi, thank you, Leffy first. There is no case. The only case he could win would have beer in its skull.
You better watch it. Who is it? Levy verse. You better watch it. You're going to end up a defendant in the next lawsuit.
Well, yeah. So I think this is Bob Levy, who is also a comedian who knows John.
Oh, there you go. Even more reason to worry.
Well, hey, just to give a disclaimer again, what do we know? We don't practice this specific area of law. Yeah. So this is just for entertainment.
I do know a little about New York publicity, but nothing that's really relevant here. I know it doesn't, I think New York, when you die, the right of publicity dies with you, whereas other states, it continues. But that's not part of this case, so it doesn't help.
Yeah. Okay. FYI, John. Yeah, I heard him say that. He said he scored 640 on the LSAT, but then later he admitted he was just lying because Vince said he scored 630, so he wanted to one-up him. So.
And I was going to say to Ellen, the chat, that the fact that somebody says something doesn't make it true. They may be telling the truth, they may not, they may be in error, they may be mistaken, but the fact that somebody says it doesn't make it a fact. It only means the person said it.
Yeah. Plus the fact that the high score you can get is a 180 anyway. So that was funny. Carl has a podcast, Roasting Podcasts. Episode 109 was the first Stuttering John review. John reacted by sending a cease and desist as a lawyer and became a regular segment.
So does that mean, Deang Lizard, that he had been roasting other podcast presenters, and then Stuttering John brought himself front and center by doing the cease and desist, and then they focused on him? That's the problem with doing anything here. That sometimes it's better, even if you're right on the law, just not to do anything, to let it peter out. And here, he gave them a reason. He gave them a reason for another show, at least one show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in a way, it kind of all feeds off of itself, where he does something, then other people react, which makes him mad. Then they have more stuff to talk about and more content.
You do family law, don't you?
Yes.
Doesn't this remind you of?
Yeah. It's like, you did this. Well, then I'm going to pick on this thing, and I'm going to file this, and it's never going to end. But the lawyers get rich. So, yeah. So let's see. Thank you guys so much. This Karen is why women have to compete against men. Oh, I think this has to do with your sports law involvement.
Oh,
I don't think women have to compete against men.
No, I don't think they should. They've got their own it's a different subject. I can talk about that with regard to some of what the area of argument is there, but it's a different show, so I won't.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is this really John? I don't think this is really John.
No.
Yeah? How many record deals you got, Prof. Joe? Oh, wait.
How many books do you have, Stuttering John?
Yeah, well, that's funny anyway. And he's a comedian, so he'll like it that we're all laughing and having a great time, right? So
we are living in times where people have thinner skins, and they don't, and that's what, Judy, you don't do. You give people the benefit of the doubt. And today, so many people don't. A person will, maybe misremember something or not say it right, and everybody thinks it's a personal attack. This is my own view. Um, and Judy, you don't do that at all. And I think with comedy, you really, it's comedy. And yeah, it can be hurtful, but you don't have to listen to it.
Yeah, people have different standards or
Yeah,
toleration
yeah.
of what people consider humor. Hi, Miss Judy. Hi, Miss Judy. Well, she's not my law professor because she taught at University of Nebraska, but it's great to meet you through YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same
Well,
here.
let's see. I think you first emailed me because of that whole issue of Judge Everett potentially making the trial
I watched your
placed in.
show and
Yeah.
I put something in the chat,
Uh huh.
and then you responded and asked me
Oh,
if I wanted to be on your show. But I was watching your show, and when I watch shows, I don't usually enter the chat unless there's something where I think I know the law and it's probably not being stated correctly, and then I may, say something. And I think
sure.
that's what it was. But it was really early. It was at the time that before Charlie's trial, when the defense lawyers wanted to go into that small courtroom and keep people out from attending. You had written a letter.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the reasons I wrote a letter, because you did. And I thought, well, gee, Judy wrote a letter. She's a lawyer. I think I'm going to write a letter too.
Great. And yours actually made it to the file. So
That's
that's pretty
because I
cool.
cited cases, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. See, YouTube can have positive
There you
effects.
go.
So, yeah. So, um, hi, Bradley. My girlfriend is Chinese. It's because many Chinese women who come to the US lie about having a license, and New Jersey will give them one without. Well, I'm not even really Chinese. My parents are from Taiwan, so this is kind of a out of the left field type of comment. Okay, but I do have a driver's license. I've been a very safe driver for many years. But yeah, Stuttering John set his couch on the curb illegally. Yeah, that's what I heard. That it was not only placed in his trash, but also out
Was on
on
the
the
curb.
street
Well,
or
the law,
something. I
the
don't know.
constitutional law is clear on that, and it comes out of a California case. They actually there was a movie that was made that was partly based on it, because the California Supreme Court had said your trash was your personal property and you had privacy interest in it, even if you discarded it. And the U.S. Supreme Court reversed, and there was a case. I think it was Michael Douglas was the judge in the case. Now my memory may be bad. So if it's out on the curb, it's open season on anybody to take it.
Yeah, but I can still understand now why the plaintiff's attorney thought it's worth mentioning at least, just to tell the judge, look how mean these people are. They
See,
even sent someone to go dig through his trash and
see,
grab
I would be a
something.
bad judge, because I would look at that and say, this is just silly. If this is the kind of thing you're worried about and complaining about, when I look at the rest of this complaint, I'm already thinking it's all going to be frivolous.
Okay. Yeah, how many lawsuits have you heard of where someone said, and then they came to my home and dug through my trash and took
And
my
took a
trash?
pillow and then used it in their show. I can't, that's why I would love to see one of these shows. I can't even imagine what they did with it on the show.
Yeah, it sounds like everybody had a really roaring good time, you know. So I mean, people had fun with it, but apparently it didn't sit well
But
with
Stuttering
John.
John didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the couch and cushions were illegally dumped by John on the side of the road. When they were taken, it actually did John a favor. Oh, okay. Thanks for the info. It was transformative and
Only
only
part of
part
the
of the
show. Yeah,
show.
Judy and I think agree that it couldn't have been just that they took his show and ran it at that. I mean, who would go
Well,
and
it's
pay
a
money?
recording, like
Yeah,
the
right.
phone recording.
Yeah. Well, even the phone. Is that all they did? The phone recording? It was, then they weren't also making fun of the show.
That I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but from what I heard, I think one of them was a 2-day event.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you guys in the chat, feel free to correct me
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't know for sure.
Or
Yeah.
educate me because I don't know at all what
Yeah.
exactly,
Okay.
you know.
Thank you, Carolyn, two of my favorite legal eagles and scholars. Thank you. Is fair use applicable to a DMCA takedown? Vince, the lawyer, says no.
I don't know what a
Don't
DMCA
know.
takedown
Yeah.
means.
Sorry. Yeah. Doesn't that have to do more with copyright?
Well, and that's another claim they're making, that this is all preempted by copyright law, I think. At least it
Yeah.
seemed to me that was a claim they were making in the brief.
Okay. Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Okay. Sorry, this is out of my wheelhouse. And the funny thing is that my ex-husband is a copyright intellectual property specialist, but there's no way I'm going to drag him into this. And I'm sure he would expect to be paid for his time.
So you dragged me in instead, huh?
Yeah, thank you, because you're on YouTube. So it's kind of cool to find YouTubers who are willing to talk about stuff, because most attorneys would be like, I'm not talking about this. You guys want to pay me? So, yeah. Judy, who do you find funnier, Shuli or John? Who do you find more attractive, Shuli or John? Both you ladies look gorgeous tonight. Well, thank you. I'm not sure because I haven't seen that much of Shuli, and when he does his show, he's with at least 2 or more other people. So I haven't really laughed out loud. So I've definitely laughed more at John because I've seen more of his shows.
Mhm.
Yeah. So who's more attractive? I would say Shuli, especially when he was younger. Okay, so Prof. Patuto, I'm sure you don't have an opinion on this.
I've never
right?
seen either of them
You
that
don't
I
know
know
them.
of, so I clearly don't have an opinion.
Yeah, yeah. The irony is John became famous on Stern for trolling celebrities on a red carpet, asking rude, obnoxious questions. Now he's suing for being trolled.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's just being trolled. I think the aspect of people charging and profiting off of him is what really gets his goat. Yeah. So it's not just like, oh, they're making fun of me, but that they're profiting off of it.
Yeah, but that's this continuum because he's making money doing the trolling. I mean, part of his salary, part of the reason why he's a comedian celebrity, the people who have on shows that Howard Stern on is because he's doing this sort of routine. It's more attenuated, but it's still on that line. I mean, even a newspaper, the Washington Post, writing a news story is also making money off publishing that news story. And that's why it's this line trying to figure out where it is that it's crossed over and you're really appropriating a name image and you should be paying for it.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, we have so many super chats tonight. Thank you guys.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. John believes all the super chats Julie and Carl get on their shows for discussing him belongs to John, that he would be getting that money if they didn't have a show. But I don't agree because I think people derive joy and laughter from what Julie and Carl are saying in response.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because,
I think that's, well, we'll see if it gets to trial whether he can prove that. That's a hard one to prove, too.
yeah, because if people really wanted to give John their money, they would be super chatting John directly.
Right.
As opposed to, oh, haha, Shuli made a great joke or a great crack or reaction, so
Yeah.
I feel compelled to send him something. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Poker might send the link to Dabble House in a text message? Really? Okay, well, to me? Somehow I think this is Vince. He's always using, oh, okay. Well, I can't get on all this stuff right now. So
It's too
maybe
hard.
I'll watch it later. Yeah, because when it's on my phone, I'm looking at the
Yeah,
computer.
it's too hard.
So yeah, but thank you, Brockleen or whoever
Well,
you
the
happen to be.
underpinning of the First Amendment generally is you don't censor, you respond by more speech. And it is a little interesting to me that instead of Stuttering John using his program to make fun of their program and get, maybe viewers and, whatever it is that he would get from doing that, that he goes after them from doing it at all. And Judy, I think you're right. They gave him more publicity, which might well have driven more people to watch what he was doing and make him more of a commodity if he wanted to go on, what they don't have much on TV anymore, but to go on a show or do an act somewhere. So it's interesting to me that as an entertainer in particular, that his first recourse wouldn't have been to do that rather than to bring a lawsuit.
Okay. Well, so this link that I'm getting on my phone, I'm sorry,
Oh,
I
you
can't.
found it.
No, it's because thanks to somebody out there who just texted me the link, it's on Rumble, and it's called Doll House, Dabble House, Uncle Pedo Part 1. What? What is this? Okay, well, I don't think I should just. Yeah, it's not satisfying to just show it up on the screen for the
No,
next
you have to
however.
figure out what part is worth
Yeah,
looking at.
1 hour, 26 minutes. There's like a
An
bunch of
hour
people.
and 26 minutes?
Yeah, this is part 1 of the show. Well, I'm sure it's going to be entertaining, so I'll watch it later. But we haven't even gotten through all these super chats. So, okay, it's not all for fun when Stuttering John is trying to take Carl and Julie's livelihood for making fun of him. Carl finding John's show is the only reason Stuttering John makes super chats now. Really?
That's what we just said, that he should let them go and they're driving, viewers his way, and he's going to come out making money and he can make fun of them for making fun of him.
Yeah,
Who knows?
because everybody wants to be a comedian, right? So it's all good fun until the lawsuits start flying. Okay, ladies, you're both great. Going over to TSN. Oh, okay, so Julie has a show now? Okay, so that's all right. Thank you. John stated on camera he knew Kate was recording him, and everything he told essentially wasn't true. Oh. But then in his lawsuit, his affidavit, he said he was just being sarcastic or joking about that. So what's the truth? I don't know.
Yeah, well, if it ever gets to trial, that'll be played to the jury and they will decide whether they think he was joking or not.
Okay. Well, thanks, Vince. Miss Judy, tell Prof. Joe what you do. Well, I don't do anything during Crank Anchors because that show hasn't been on in 20-something years. All right. Thank you, Marilyn, always being so supportive. John is unemployable. This is just another grift. Ain't got paid for this large pizza Vince the lawyer ordered for me. Well, I don't think I've gotten any more pizza deliveries. Can Ray P? Huh?
Ray P. Ray?
Okay, sue Dave Sierra for faulty award. I have no idea what that
means-
means. I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
don't either.
These must be other comedians or something. Joe spotted how flawed the suit was in 2 minutes. Skull. Well, have you ever heard skull before?
Is that a drinking? I thought that was a kind of a.
Yeah,
I've heard it.
Is it Norwegian?
Now you're
or-
getting into my world.
Yeah, is that a Norwegian thing to say? Yeah, it's not Danish, but one of those countries up there. Yeah. Well, I mean, are you saying that the lawsuit is flawed, or do you think there's some validity to some part?
Who? Me?
You. Yes.
I thought you were asking Steve draw stuff.
No, I'm asking you because Steve is assuming that you think the lawsuit is flawed.
I think he's got an uphill battle, but it's very hard. As Judy said earlier, it's really very hard to give any kind of reasonable assessment without having any idea what that show was like. And with allegations in the complaint that it's not clear. I mean, they've got, I'm sure they've got a basis in fact to say it, but there's no way of knowing how solid the allegations are. And I do think he's a public figure, and the constitutional law on satire uh, gives him a hard row. Um without even hearing that show. But with that show, I think it's harder. Even the private phone calls are an issue because the other party to the private phone call has a right to, it's her phone message also. And in addition, I think the hardest part is the information in these documents was he talked to her again after he knew that she had shared the first run of phone call or the first phone call. It's pretty hard for me to see how he could possibly win on that one since he went in with his eyes open the second time. So,
Okay, thank you. Have you heard of Aaron Imholt applying for what's a HRO?
I know what an
Restraining
SRO is.
order?
A what?
What's a HRO? Restraining order, perhaps, on people for attending his court hearing and sharing topless photos of him. I don't know anything about that.
I don't either.
But court hearings are typically open to the public. So
And what does topless in quotes mean?
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
When we're covering a trial, the questions are easier to figure out than these are.
Sorry, I don't know much about that situation. Can I sue a former Buffy actor for embarrassing me? So that's like a joke because just last week there's this actor from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Adam Bush, who showed up on John's live stream and kind of had this tension-filled discussion with him where a lot of people said Adam make John look bad. So, have you ever heard of Adam Bush?
Nope.
Did you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
No, but there was a show afterwards that was a spin-off that I did see a couple of times. I can't remember what the name of the spin-off was, but it was because the actor in the spin-off I like, and he's had a couple of TV series after that, but I never saw Buffy the Vampire Slayer. No.
Oh, okay.
Did you?
Me
Have
neither. No, but I think my younger sister watched it. So it's like a generational thing. So, so I didn't know who Adam was or John was until I got roped into all this stuff. So, yeah, I don't think you can just sue someone for embarrassing you. Yeah.
Well, if that were the case, I'd be bringing a lot of lawsuits.
Sue everybody.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Pulling taffy. No, I have never pulled taffy before. Please subscribe to Professor Joe's channel. Let's get to 14K now. That's
thank
right.
you, Nurse Kristen.
Thank you.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, definitely subscribe. She has
She's
great
one of my
commentary.
members. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. And it's called Prof. Joe Explains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prof. Joe, would you take this case on contingency?
No,
Me
I would
neither.
not. But for a couple of reasons. One, I really am a really strong believer in free speech and First Amendment issues, and I really believe in a very, very wide range of people being able to say things that I would think are despicable or hurtful or nasty or stupid before I would feel that it reached a level where I'd be willing to bring a lawsuit or do something. And I think I'm being objective about it. I wouldn't do it if it was addressed at me either. I just think free speech and a really, really active public space to speak is the way to go. Although I will say that we're getting to a place that we're not really kind to each other, and I don't like that either. But So no, I wouldn't take it.
Yeah. There's some talk about John's attorney potentially withdrawing because the case got transferred to Rochester, which is maybe 5 to 6 hours north of Manhattan.
Mm.
So I could totally understand that. That's a long drive.
Yeah.
A real hassle if you're not getting paid for driving time. Yeah. This is funny. You can answer this. Do the laws vary between New York City and New York State?
Well, you know the answer to that.
Of course not.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But on that note, let's get back to the plaintiff's opposition brief where he just keeps bringing up Florida law claims. Isn't that really strange? Like, why would you suddenly start invoking Florida law when the case was filed in New York?
Yeah, I thought that related to, and this is only a guess, the challenge that the defendants made both to venue, that is, it shouldn't be in New York, and that New York law really didn't give them a cause of action. And Florida is, somebody lives in Florida.
That's where John
It's
lives
in
now.
Melendez. Yeah, so he's in Florida. And so I thought that was why. Plus, it looked as though Florida law gave them a little better shot at a couple of the issues. It allows unjust enrichment. And so I kept thinking, so why did they file it in New York to begin with? But you've got to be able to get the defendants in. And I don't know whether they've got any, relationship to Florida. And so I don't know whether you're going to be able to do it at all. But I thought maybe that's what it was. But this brief, for those of you who want to read this brief, is really confusing to follow because they're talking about New York law and Florida law, and they go back and forth in a way that by the time I was done, my head was spinning. I would have needed a pencil and paper and sort of to chart it out to see. And I'm not sure if I did that, even then that I'd be able to follow it. It sounds as though what they would like is to be able to pick and choose. We'll be in New York where we want to be, and then we'll do California law on whether it was an illegal phone call, and Florida law so we can get unjust enrichment, and New York law, I forget what else that they'd like New York better on. And that's not, theoretically, that's not impossible, but it's extraordinarily unlikely that the judge would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never heard of a case where someone sued in one state and then said, well, wait a second, why don't you apply this other state's law too, so we can have this cause of action?
It happens. This is conflict of laws and it's way complicated, but it can happen, particularly in modern, what they call choice of law, that traditionally you decided who, if I'm in Florida and you're in New York and we have to pick one law or the other, the court that you're in would decide which state's law would apply, and that would be it. It would apply to every issue. And in modern choice of law, it is possible to say New York law would apply to XYZ, but we're going to apply Florida law to Y. Maybe let spousal immunity, maybe, or spousal privilege. But it's not likely that it happens. And they certainly wouldn't do it based on the plaintiffs saying, I want this one because this one is good for me. And I want New York because I think it's good for me. And I want Florida on this issue because it's good for me. You're going to have a much better case than that for saying more than one law applies.
Okay. Thank you. Is the lawsuit a losing situation for Carl and Julie? Well, I was just thinking about this. Even if they win, it's still a loss for them because they've had to pay attorney's fees and spend lots of time out of their lives stressing out and talking with lawyers. And if the case doesn't get dismissed, then they have to go through discovery and potential depositions. So it could become more stressful.
Could, but if they win, they'll have lots of programs available to them talking about the lawsuit.
Yeah, that's true. But what, maybe like 2 programs? But I don't know how much people want to keep talking about a lawsuit once you win it. But yeah, So that's what stinks. And this is what I hate about the legal system is that it can become very costly for people to hire attorneys. And a lot of times there's no pot of gold for you to get, if you could potentially get attorney's fees versus, even if you are
Yeah.
awarded attorney's fees and costs, then it's up to you to go and get it. For example, I had this lawsuit a couple of years ago where the judgment was for 142K plus attorney's fees and costs. And I've gotten zero attorney's fees and costs
Yeah.
because this person is a deadbeat. And my client has been too nice to try to enforce the judgment because the defendant is in a different state and,
Mm.
he bunch of other reasons. But anyway, it's hard to chase after someone.
So you didn't take your fees off the top?
Oh, well, I was defending the case.
Oh, I see.
So I did get paid. I did
Yeah.
get paid, but
Okay.
in terms of collecting the attorney's fees and costs
Yeah.
from the plaintiff,
Oh,
there's
that hasn't happened. Yeah.
yeah, it hasn't
Well,
happened. And
that's a little, but the anti-SLAPP laws are an attempt to, respond to that. But they don't want people to just be filing these defamation suits in order to inhibit free speech on the theory that somebody just can't afford to pay, and you can stop, And so we got some statutory protection out there. I don't know, Judy, if you're following the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni.
no, sorry.
It's a crazy lawsuit that's been going for quite a while. It actually may go to trial. But there were YouTubers, content providers who were providing content, and the Blake Lively's lawyers um, wanted to depose all of them, and it cost these content providers, one of them only had 5 subscribers
Oh,
to try to be able to defend against it. So, it can be used. You're absolutely right. It can be used in ways that just seem really overreaching and unfair. If you're in the situation of having to respond when it's pretty clear that you have no involvement or no responsibility or no liability, but you're still going to have to spend a lot of money, vindicating yourself.
why was this YouTuber with 5 subscribers sued?
Well, they wanted to depose because the theory is that the YouTubers were being fed information by Baldoni, the defendant, to smear Blake Lively. I mean, I think it was a crazy claim. And she didn't go after some of the YouTube channels that had a lot of clout who were covering it. She went after, it appeared to me anyway, the smaller content providers, and it looked to a lot of people it was her effort to stifle them from covering it because they were not generally providing coverage favorable to her as it was going forward.
Oh,
So
okay. Wow, something else to look into.
yeah,
I've heard of it, but I didn't have time to
it's
read
a
about it.
very complicated case.
Oh, are you covering it on
I
your
think I
channel?
might want to, but I'm going to have to, backtrack and get documents and things. But I'd like to because it's very interesting, and it's got a lot of sort of legs to it that go in different directions, and it gives you a sort of an eye into the world of motion pictures and how the same way the Alex Baldwin, that shooting death on set gives you a picture of how things actually happen on a movie set and how some actors can attempt or maybe succeed in getting a lot of control over a production because they can say, gee, I'm just going to walk away. So it's an interesting world that I don't know a whole lot about, and I'd like to cover it and see.
Okay, great. Yeah, but John said he scored 640 on the LSAT, so you must be mistaken. Well, as Professor Patuto said, anyone can say
That's
anything.
right. That's right. I can say I can fly.
I can say I got 180 on the LSAT.
There you go.
So, okay, thank you. Thanks for a great show, Skull. Thank you,
Well, this was
Josephine.
fun. I'm so impressed at how many people in your chat know this case pretty well. I mean, it's I'm always impressed when people, and I like listening to people who know something in an area where I don't know a lot. It's always, I love it. And I
Yeah.
especially love it if they're enthusiastic about what they know. I just think it's fascinating to listen. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is an interesting comment because, yes, I did read the statute. Thank you. Dawn on you, broads, to even read New York Section 51 before the show. Why, yes, thank you. So, looky here. It says, for the purposes of this subdivision, it shall not be a violation of paragraph A if the work is a play, book, magazine, newspaper, or other literary work, blah, blah, work of political, public interest,
right.
educational, or newsworthy value, including comment, criticism, parody, or satire. Then it still says here it's not
So
a
what's paragraph
violation.
A? Can you move up? Do you have paragraph A or no?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, let's see what A says.
Well, this has to do with deceased
Okay.
personality.
It's up here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry. This is 50F.
Okay.
But we can certainly look up 51 if people still want to look for it.
Well, we were accused of not knowing what the statute said, which is true for me. I didn't go look at the particular language of the statute. I was talking about in general what these rules say.
Action for injunction and damages. Okay, so that's using someone's name, portrait, picture, likeness for advertising purposes or purposes of trade. Can sue and recover.
Well, I will say that the paragraph that we looked at before in this paragraph don't necessarily answer the question in this lawsuit.
Yeah.
They
Well,
set the parameters, but they don't answer how they apply to a particular fact situation.
yeah, because that's the question. It's like, was his picture, likeness, or voice used for advertising purposes or purposes of trade? Because I did look at some of the cases that the plaintiff's lawyer cited, and those seem to be very different situations there.
Right.
You know, this wasn't a commercial or some sort of advertisement. It was an event that the defendants held, which seems to have included commentary
Right.
and other types of events. So I think that's an issue to be argued. Yeah. So, oh, okay. Thank you. Skull is Scandinavian for
Scandinavian,
cheers. Yeah, I did look that up a while ago, but I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Thank you, Teresa. Okay. Thank you. Oh, so mommy. Either of you donated to his GoFundMe, and why not? Nah, because I'm trying to be neutral in this. So, and I think I've already spent enough money and time dealing with this stuff too. So, yeah, thank you. I mean, do you feel compelled to donate to the defendants' GoFundMe for their legal fees?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, not this one.
Okay. Joe, would you go on a date with John if paid?
I don't go on paid dates with anyone.
What a crazy question. It's like, who pays somebody to go on a date with someone else? Gosh. Vince aims to dupe Stuttering John into a Supreme Court appeal. Okay, that I'm not sure of.
Which Supreme Court? I mean, the trial court isn't that right in New York? It's called the
Yeah, it's
Supreme
New
Court. The
York.
Supreme Court is the Court of Appeals. So maybe the capital SC means the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, that's never going to happen. I mean, there are very few things I would say as an absolute in life, but that one I would be happy to give as an absolute.
Yeah, they're not going to hear it. So, yeah. Be honest with Professor Joe, you paid $50 for Bush. Yeah, that's right. I did get roped into that whole thing of trying to get Adam Bush to show up on John's live stream last week. Yeah, so it was actually, I guess, Vince's friend Mike who said he would pay. But then Mike didn't have Venmo. And I said, well, John has Venmo, and that's an easy way for me to pay him. So Mike PayPal'd me the $50 and I Venmo'd John.
Well,
So,
see, then you didn't pay $50. You were just the conduit
yeah,
for
I was a
$50 that
conduit.
you
I
paid.
mean,
Yeah,
the payment came from my
yeah,
account, but it wasn't really my
right.
money. Yeah. This whole conversation is way too intelligent and thorough for the Dabbleverse. You're both terrific. Does Vince, the lawyer, need to adhere to any ethical legal rules while he appears on these podcasts? Well, I think he's playing a character and it's comedy. So, as long as it's clear that he is not showing up on a show as a lawyer or giving legal advice to John. It's entertainment for comedic purposes. So most of the time when we've done comedy, I always put a disclaimer in the description, just in case people take us seriously or get offended, but people still get offended and take us seriously anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Stuttering John wants to know, okay, that is offensive, but thanks for the money. Can I sue a guy for asking if my son queefed in my face? What? No, you cannot sue for that, but thanks for the laugh. John wants to know if you find him attractive. Did you even see a picture of
I have
him?
never seen a picture
She
of him.
doesn't know who he
I
is.
have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. DabbleCon 2 also included other events and footage of John shouting a fight challenge from outside another podcaster's house, claiming to defend Kate.
So it was not just the phone call.
Okay.
This doesn't sound like entertainment to me.
But apparently to thousands of people,
we
they
just
love
share.
it. Yeah.
I'm
some
sure there are
love
people
it.
apparently like it, but it doesn't sound like entertainment to me.
Okay, you're much too intelligent for this lowbrow goofiness. If a lawyer gives false legal info on a podcast to a retarded alcoholic to get him to sue other people, could he be reported to the ethics board? Well, I think anyone can make a complaint to the state bar, but I think if it's clear it's just comedy, then that's really nothing unethical. What do you think?
I don't know. False legal information that the lawyer knew was false, done with the purpose of getting somebody to sue other people. I don't know whether it's ethical or not. I don't know that it would be, but there might be a crime embedded somewhere in there. I'd have to think about it. I don't really know that. That's such an odd hypothetical. And if it's clear that it was just entertainment, if a reasonable person would know it was just entertainment. I know you're saying a retarded alcoholic, but even a retarded alcoholic is subject to a reasonable person standard. We don't say it's the reasonable retarded alcoholic and how she would view the information.
Okay. Well, especially if the attorney is constantly trying to do comedy and has repeatedly said bizarre or false things to the person
Right.
to try to get a rise out of them or to get a laugh and play jokes on them, then I think context matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why you should never trust anything that's just being told to you on a YouTube show, even if the person is a lawyer in real life. You need to have a real professional attorney-client consultation,
Right.
preferably one that you pay for. Right? Because people always say you pay for what you get.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, event was a full show with comedy, live podcasts, Mike Morse's infotainment, and tapes were an afterthought. Before the Dabbleverse, his career was in the dumps prior.
And that, Judy, is your point, that even were he to prevail, he'd have to show damages. And if this is true, the damages would be tough to prove.
Yeah.
He's doing better after than before.
Yeah. I mean, it does potentially open himself up to more embarrassing discovery.
Exactly.
Where the other attorney could say, well, show us your tax returns, give us your bank statements, where's your YouTube revenue records?
Exactly.
Show us your view counts from your YouTube studio reports. And, it really opens up a can of worms.
Indeed.
Yeah. Professor Joe looks like Tatum O'Neal. Are you single? Tatum O'Neal? What do you think? I don't recall what she looks like anymore.
She's got blondish hair.
Yeah.
And a squarish face. I don't know. I don't think she wears glasses.
Okay. Yeah. I don't really know this person, but I didn't think immediately that you look like her. But let me look
Tatum
her
O'Neal
up.
is Ryan O'Neal's daughter. She was the little girl and she won the Oscar for being the youngest. I don't know whether it was an honorary Oscar or she actually won it. The youngest recipient. That's her now. She was married to John McEnroe for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she looks pretty.
Yeah,
But I don't think you look like her, though. Okay, well, thanks for the super chat.
It's better than the people who kept telling me I look like Donna Adelson.
Donna Adelson. Yeah, you'd rather look like Tatum O'Neal. Would it
right.
benefit John to get sober? Of course, it's always good for people to get sober. That's like that's not a question. Yeah, it's just true. You got to be sober, to have a healthy life. Reunification with the motherland will happen. Glory to the CPC. Okay, whatever. Let's see. Stuttering John and his lawyer made a settlement offer to Carl and Shuley, asking them to stop talking about him. No money. Could this come back to slap John?
I don't know. I mean, usually a settlement offer is not something you can actually use at a trial because you want to encourage people to try.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I don't think it will come back to bite him. Shuley cultivated, the most least desirable? You would have to be a disgusting human being to want to hear the tapes. It was gross and wrong, huh? Okay, you mean the Kate Meany tapes. Okay, well, I guess apparently lots of people found it entertaining and they wanted to hear these phone recording tapes. Yeah, so I do think it's unethical, but whether it means that there's a cause of action, I have no clue.
And it's not a kind thing to do.
Yeah.
It's not a friendly thing to do. It's not something that you would uphold or teach your kids to do, of course, but it doesn't make it necessarily unethical, and it certainly doesn't mean it's illegal. A lot of legal things are not things that you would, that you would advise people to do and say this is the, the highest calling or the most defensible way to act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're delightful. I enjoy your breakdown of this crazy world and its legal skull. Okay, thank you, sexy welter.
Well, people have decided skull is the word to use.
Yeah, I guess so, because John says it so many times while he's drinking on his live streams. Yeah. Okay, show Professor Joe a picture of John Eric Melendez. Will she fly to Florida? I don't think she is going to fly to Florida to meet him.
No, that's for sure.
Well, these pictures look like they're from a long time ago. Yeah.
So am I supposed to say whether I think he's handsome or not?
Yeah, I
Is that
guess
the
so. Do you
question?
feel like commenting? You
No,
don't
I
have
don't. I
to.
mean, I don't. I will. I'm not going to. I don't usually comment on the way people look generally, so I won't do it here.
Okay.
Um,
That's a classy response. Okay, I think we hit all the super chats here. Yeah. Um, okay, but we didn't even get to really address the opposition filing, which I spent all this time reading. Um, I noticed lots and lots of misspellings and typos in this opposition brief, which I don't know if people really want to see it or something, but yeah. You have any other quick comments?
no, except I guess I will say thank you to you because I had no idea that this lawsuit even existed, and it was interesting to get some, not particularly precise, but some picture of it. So I thank you for that. And I always like being on your show. You do a great job, and you are really a, standout person in doing interviews and covering content. And you are someone who is universally takes the high road with regard to other YouTube content providers. And so I
Well,
really admire how
I
you
don't know.
operate.
I feel like people have unsubscribed from me lately, but um, yeah. I mean, I try to have fun and stuff. Of course,
Mhm.
there's sometimes serious legal topics and all of that, but it is hard, as you have found, to build a channel and to spend so much time in the background trying to create content and do research and get in touch with people. And there's a lot of work behind the scenes in growing a channel, which I don't think most people appreciate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and my feeling is, people have different tastes, different reactions, different interests, and it's always going to be true that some people will not be interested in what you're doing on your channel, and that there's nothing wrong with them and there's nothing wrong with you or me. It's just, it's just the way we're not all wired the same way, and thank God we're not. It makes for a more interesting world.
That's right. Like, I've actually had several people commenting on my Adelson coverage saying it's time to move on. Why do you keep covering this? Move on, find something else to cover. And it's like, look, I've gotten more than 10,000 views on this. So who are you to say, hey, stop covering this?
Yeah,
10,000 people want to watch this stuff. So go watch something else then.
yeah.
Instead of
And
just,
they can.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're very rude, or I don't know, mentally not all there people out there in
Mhm.
YouTube world, as we can see. Yeah, but getting back to this opposition brief, there's just like so many little points that I could nitpick about. But there was one footnote where where the attorney just seemed to say, "Nah," in the footnote. But now I can't find it. I think it was footnote 4, which I thought was very bizarre, because I've never seen anybody put this in a legal pleading like that. Oh, see here. So the attorney, he actually has 2 attorneys doing this now. Says here, a dismissal is warranted only if the documentary evidence submitted conclusively establishes a defense to the asserted claims as a matter of law. And then down here on the footnote, it says, it does not. Please see exhibit. I mean, it just seems so weird to like interrupt your sentence there to say like, no. But
Yeah. And you'd be better off saying, where's the sentence? I'm trying to find the sentence now. The sentence that you just read, is it?
it was like a quote from case law.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Talking about the standard for
Okay.
a dismissal. And then there was also something strange here. Was it on page 16?
And this, where do you want? Are you on the amended complaint?
No,
or
I'm on the opposition
the
motion
opposition
that
motion?
the plaintiff's attorney filed. And this is where, let's see, footnote 9. Okay, so I'm kind of annoyed because I had to go back and look for some of these cases so I
Yeah.
could read them. And this Central Hudson Gas Supreme Court thing. This was like from the 80s and had to do with a totally different situation
Isn't
about
that commercial
advertising.
speech? It's commercial speech. That
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah, that had to do with not being able to
Right.
do advertisements. Yeah, but look at this footnote here. It says the plaintiff is still
We
investigating.
don't have it on the screen, I don't
Oh,
think.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Let me see. I'm toggling back and
Yeah.
forth. Okay, remove this. Now I need to share the screen. Is it that one?
You're back to where you were.
Oh, that's right. Okay, because it's within Adobe. So that's why I'm sorry. I have to change to a different window. Oh, here it is. Okay, so in this footnote here, it says plaintiff is still investigating and collecting the way that the tapes were used in promotional campaign. Okay, should be campaigns, as part of a seemingly sophisticated commercial operation by defendants. But given the tight timeline and expedited requirements of the statute, more time is needed to gather this information and organize it properly for presentation to the court. Plaintiff's counsel sent a letter to defense counsel offering to extend the time for all opposition, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I was like, well, wait a second. You're the plaintiff's attorney.
Right.
Shouldn't you have gotten all this
Right.
information
Why
way
didn't you
before
wait? That's
you
right.
even filed the lawsuit?
Exactly.
But now this months have passed and you still claim that you haven't gotten all the recordings and stuff? That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it just seemed kind of haphazard, not impressive.
Yeah, they had it within their control as to when they wanted to sue. I don't think there's any statute of limitations that's in their way.
Yeah. Okay. Will you date this person who looks like Bill Shatner? Is Bill Shatner good looking? I don't know these people.
He's Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, but was he hot looking?
Although I think he usually uses William, doesn't he? But yeah,
Oh.
he's Star Trek.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Now
these
you're
are-
in the genres that I know something about.
Okay. Well, these are kind of weird questions, so let's not embarrass Professor Petito.
Well, you're not going to
with
embarrass me. I'm not going to answer them. If they're embarrassing at all, the embarrassment is to the questioner.
these. Yeah. Okay. Stuttering John wants to know if you were ever with a black man. Okay. You don't have to answer that either.
I don't plan to.
Okay. Judy, you're delightful. Well, thank you very much. It's nice to get a nice compliment instead
was
of
very
rude,
nice.
offensive questions such as this one. Not going to answer. Show Professor Joe a picture of Casey Armstrong. Also set up Stuttering John with Miss Donna. Come on. Yeah. Casey Armstrong is a guy who is also part of the Howard Stern show. He was very muscular back then, like very athletic looking. And
I thought Howard Stern was only on radio. Is he on TV also? I didn't even know that.
that's what I'm not sure, but you can see old videos on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I don't think we want to drag down this live stream show by showing hot pictures of Casey Armstrong, but you can Google it. And if John wants to visit Donna Adelson, she's at the Homestead Correctional Institution, which is not too far from him, actually.
I knew
in
you'd
South
know
Florida.
that.
Huh?
I said I knew you'd know that.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew
So,
she was near Miami, but I didn't remember the name of the prison.
yeah. So at least they did get that request that she's closer to make it convenient for Harvey to visit her. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's about it. It's been an hour and a half and my voice is dying and stuff. So, any parting words about this case or the Dappleverse in general?
I think not.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now back to true crime and focusing on your serious channel. Do you ever do comedy on your channel?
I don't think I'm good at it. I wouldn't mind doing it, but you have a talent for it. and
Yeah.
and gossip rumor has a talent for it, and
Yeah.
I don't think I have a talent for it, so I wouldn't mind doing it, but I think I would sink to the bottom of the bathtub with.
Well, someday if I need someone to read like a
Okay,
jail phone call or a transcript or something, if you
okay.
fit the role, then I'll be sure to reach
It's a
out to
deal.
you.
Just don't expect your chat to laugh because I don't think I can do it, but
Oh, I'm sure it
it's a
would be
deal.
very funny. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Thanks for the super chats. Let's see. I think we addressed everybody, and yeah. So guess I'll see you guys back in the Dabbleverse unless I can finally tear myself away from it
Okay.
because work has gotten busy as usual and stuff. So, yeah, please check out Prof. Joe Explains. We really appreciate her time and her comments. This is all just off the cuff commentary from people who don't specialize in this area of law. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Uh,
Okay.
let's see. Okay, well, Professor Cho, I'm sure we'll be in touch. There's
Mhm.
always more to cover in true
All right.
crime
Well,
and
sometime or other, you're going
yeah.
to have to return the favor and come on my Prof.
Sure,
Joe Explains. We'll have to figure out what topic.
of
Maybe when we
course.
get close to Charlie's appeal date,
Yeah.
which is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, February
So
3rd, 10 o'clock.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank
Okay.
you. Have a good
Thank you.
evening, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
So
Have a
long.
good week.